The Magical Forest Adventure. Plot. Two kids, Jack and Mandy, discover a magical forest when they explore their backyard. It is full of fantastical creatures and exciting adventures. They soon find themselves going on a journey through the forest, encountering wild beasts, talking trees, and mysterious portals that take them to strange new worlds. Along the way, they will learn how to work together as a team to overcome obstacles and come out victorious. In the end, they will discover a secret that has been hidden in the forest for centuries, and it may just be their undoing. Or their salvation. The story. Once upon a time, two boys, Jack and Mandy, were playing outside their house. There was a forest beyond their backyard. Their parents had warned them about the forest. It was mysterious, where children had gotten lost in the past. However, these two young and vibrant kids were unmoved and decided to explore the forbidden forest. There was a fence separating their compound from the forest. But as soon as they crossed it, they could see something extraordinary beyond the trees, a wonderland of vibrant wildflowers, magical butterflies, and little creatures scurrying about. The kids followed a path that took them deeper into the forest. While walking, they heard whispers coming from within the trees. Jack and Mandy soon realized that the trees were talking to each other, sharing stories about a magical world beyond. The kids kept walking until they arrived at a clearing full of shimmering crystals. As soon as they stopped, they heard a loud voice from one of the old trees. It warned them not to touch any of the magical objects on the ground. But the two were too curious and decided to take a closer look. Mandy took one crystal in his hand. It was diamond-shaped, cold to the touch, and glowing with a deep blue light. When he touched it, the crystal seemed to come alive. Then it started to speak to the boys. "Do you want to come on an adventure with me?" it asked. Without hesitation, Jack and Mandy agreed. The crystal then opened up a portal and the two kids stepped through it. They found themselves in a magical realm filled with incredible creatures, like fairies, unicorns, dragons, and trolls. Also, they passed through valleys, mountains, and vast lands. In the new kingdom, people could fly, magical plants could talk to them, and they encountered strange creatures along the way. The kids faced different challenges as they moved through this unknown world. For instance, they had to figure out how to get past a dangerous monster, rebuild the bridge that spanned an abyss, and escape a treacherous dungeon. Eventually, Jack and Mandy met the king of the land. He was an old man with 64 teeth, 3 hands, and 6 eyes. He told them a secret: the magical crystal that brought them to this world was actually a key. They had to find 7 other crystals to unlock supernatural powers. For instance, they could increase the size of objects or make them invisible. The kids asked the old king where they could find the other keys. He told them to look in 7 different places throughout the kingdom. Jack and Mandy set off on their quest, determined to find all of the keys and unlock the secret power hidden within them. First, they went up the mountains. Here, snakes were sunbathing on the rocks. When they saw the boys, they whispered among themselves. Luckily, the boys understood what they were saying. The whisper was a plan to attack the children and kill them. Jack asked his friend to speak to the crystal they had carried from the forest back home. Immediately, a loud voice came from the crystal and scared away the snakes. After that, Jack and Mandy kept going up the mountain until they found an opening into a cave. When they entered, they saw several precious stones, rocks, and crystals. But how could they identify the magical crystal they must pick? Mandy thought for a while. He knew that the correct crystal was unique, with an unusual shape and a deep blue light. But it was not easy to detect it because of the many replicas in the place. He decided to take all the crystals one by one and see if any of them responded when touched. Finally, he stumbled upon the magical crystal they had been looking for. When Mandy touched the crystal, he could feel its power stirring inside of him. He realized that this must be the one they needed. The crystal welcomed them and promised to help in their quest for the other keys. Jack and Mandy were relieved but had no idea what other obstacles they might face in their journey. Nonetheless, they were determined to find all 7 keys and unlock the secret power hidden within. Jack then suggested they should visit the desert. But Mandy had a reservation. The Uga Uga people, who lived in the desert, did not like visitors. As they were discussing their options, a voice came from behind. "Do not fear. I have been waiting for you." The voice belonged to an old woman, cloaked in a white robe. She said she was the guardian of the desert and that she had been expecting them. She explained how an ancient spirit had told her about their quest for the 7 magical crystals and offered to help them on their journey, but only if they could answer 3 questions. The first question was tricky. She asked them to name the first thing they would do once they got the secret power. Jack thought for a second and replied that he wanted to eradicate evil from the world and create a place of peace. The old woman smiled, pleased with his answer. She then asked Mandy what he would do. He replied that he wanted to use the power to help people, by curing diseases and providing food and education for everyone in need. Surprised at their wit, the old woman nodded and agreed to help them find the key hidden in the desert. She explained that afterward, they would have to work out where the rest could be hidden. Jack and Mandy thanked the old woman for her help. She told them to walk toward the baobab tree and dig below its roots. But she warned them not to speak to anyone until they got the key. The boys followed her advice and started their journey. After 2 days of walking, they reached the baobab. It was huge, with a trunk so big that the boys could barely reach around it. How could they dig out the key? They had no tools or skills to do so. Suddenly, Mandy saw a butterfly on a nearby rock. He waved at it, and it said, "You need a shovel." But the boys remembered the words of the old lady. They must not speak to anyone. How are they going to get a shovel and dig under the tree? It seemed an impossible task. But Jack and Mandy were determined to find a way. After searching around for a while, they found a stick with a sharp edge which they used to dig out the key hidden beneath the roots of the baobab tree. Now they have found the second key and are closer to unlocking the secret power. But what else awaits them on their quest? We can only wait and see. It was now getting late, and the boys were hungry. Also, they had no place to sleep. But suddenly, they saw a campfire in the distance. Who could it be? Jack was hesitant to go closer. Mandy, however, had a feeling that this might be exactly what they were looking for. But remember, we should not speak to people, said Jack. His friend reminded him that the old lady had said they should not talk to anyone until they found their second key. Again, Jack was hesitant. These people could be dangerous. But Mandy was confident that this was their chance to find out more information about the other keys. The two boys finally decided to risk it and approached the campfire. They were welcomed by a group of friendly nomads, who offered them food and shelter for the night. But the boys did not disclose their identity, as that could ruin their adventure. When asked where they came from, Mandy replied, "We are from the Eastern Kingdom." They lied that they were looking after their cattle in the forest but got lost and found themselves in the desert. The nomads said they would help them search for them in the morning. That made little Jack and Mandy worried because they had lied. At midnight, the two lads planned to escape. They wanted to travel south, and that would make the Ooga Ooga nomads not trace them. But how could they walk in the desert without leaving a trail of their path? Nobody should know about their secret mission. Suddenly, Mandy had an idea. He told Jack, "Let us head east until we reach the oasis. From there, we can travel south without being detected." They stealthily left the nomads' camp and crossed the desert. After a long journey, they reached the oasis. They drank from its water and refreshed. It was about 3 a.m., and they could barely keep their eyes open. But the boys must not linger as they still had a long way to go. They set out and traveled south until they reached the valley. It was already 6:30 in the morning. By then, their legs were aching. They lay down under a tree. Soon, they were in deep sleep. Jack dreamed of how their parents were frantically looking for them. But Mandy saw a huge ogre guarding 3 chests. When the boys woke up, it was already noon. They got up and started their search for the third key. But little did they know what was awaiting them at the other end of the valley. They were in for a surprise. The boys walked further, and before long, they saw one monster. Its eyes were glowing red. Mandy and Jack had no idea what to do. At that instant, the old lady appeared. "That is the guardian of 3 special keys," she said. "You will have to outsmart it to get them." The boys asked how they could do that. The old lady gave them a secret. That beast could not withstand pepper water. The boys had to start searching for wildly growing pepper. Jack decided to use his water bottle to prepare the concoction. Then they charged toward the monster with their pepper water, and it started running in their direction. Jack splashed the water on it, and suddenly the giant ogre vanished. The boys were ecstatic at their success. There in front of them were 3 chests, just as Mandy had seen in his dream. They opened the chests and each one of them contained a key. This was it. Now they had collected a total of 5 keys. 2 more to go. Jack said, "I'm hungry, I wish I had roast bush meat and sweet potatoes." Then, before their eyes, roasted bush meat and a steaming plate of sweet potatoes appeared. Mandy looked around and exclaimed, "This is truly a magical kingdom." After eating their fill, Mandy said, "I wish we had the last 2 magical crystals." Immediately, They were teleported to where the crystals were hidden. The boys now had all 7 magical crystals in their possession. They had finally made it. They thought if they should go back to the king. They decided to find their way back home because their people were now worried about them. Mandy took out the crystal they had used to enter the portal. He rubbed it with his thumb and index finger and said, "Take us home." Suddenly, they were transported back to the forest in their backyard, where they had started the journey. The boys went back home and kept their adventure a secret. Surprisingly, in the ordinary world, they had only gone for a few hours, but in the unknown kingdom, they had been through an entire journey of days. In the evening, the boys asked their father what he wished to have. He said a bigger house, a new car, and some cash. The house they were living in was indeed small. Their old car could not take them anywhere. So, the boys used their magical crystals to fulfill their father's wishes. The news about the magical powers of the boys spread all over the kingdom. They were praised and awarded for their bravery. People from every corner of their city came to know about them. They brought their needs to them, and the boys served all without discrimination. Their country grew with peace, prosperity, and happiness. The end. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more exciting content. Thank you.